The WWF, what the world is watching. Turn it on and rip the knob off.
Guys, and welcome back to the Wrestling Memory Grenade, now at episode 168, and I hope everybody out there is doing great as we continue on with December 1988 in the World Wrestling Federation. I am Ray Russell, and this is week 3 of TV here in December 88, going to be closing out this year, moving into 1989, right around the corner, guys. Encourage everybody to stop on over to WrestleCopia.com, check out all of the great podcasts going on right now from Gene Jackson and the Retro Review, finishing up 1993 in the USWA. He's moving on to 1991 with his buddies over there at P3 Radio and Company. We've got Dave Dynasty, the Wrestling Nostalgia Podcast, constantly bringing up new guests each and every week. Dave always doing a fantastic job of lining up the guests and knocking it down with the questions. Then from there, Bob Smith, of course, the Outdated Wrestling Hour, his new co-host, Joe Puccio, joined the program recently. Bob also always has an interesting guest or two on. Be sure to check those out. And how can I forget the Other Ship, fellas? And their combination of wrestling talk and a little mixture of everything else in between. So all those shows and more. And of course, let's not forget Regional Wrestling, the Wrestling Stoop with Bob Roop, and the list goes on and on over there at WrestleCopia.com. And now's a great time to check out Patreon.com/WrestleCopia as well. 3 big tiers going on right now. The All Access tier, the VIP Super Fan tier with a lot of great video casts. And then we've added the Ultimate tier. Well, actually, it's always been there, but we've added a lot of content to it, including the new treasure chest of goodies you guys can download if you join the Ultimate tier today. And of course, even more video casts as part of the Ultimate tier and everything on the lower tiers. You can check all of that out at patreon.com/WrestleCopia. More on that later. Right now, guys, we head off back in time. Once again, this time it's the December 17th edition of the WWF's Superstars of Wrestling. Away we go, WWF Superstars, December 17th, 1988, tape back November 15th, before the Survivor Series. We are in San Francisco, California, at the famed Cow Palace. Our commentators, per the usual, one Vince McMahon, pal, and Jesse the Body Ventura as we go off to ringside to see the WWF Tag Team Champions, Axe and Smash Demolition, battle Nick Ferreira and Art Pena. As Jesse, on commentary here, finds it strange that a manager would leave his champions. Of course, referencing Mr. Fuji leaving the demos, Vince McMahon concurring. It doesn't make much sense. Well, when you start shitting on your own booking, that's never good, pal. But Vince McMahon explaining it away that, well, Mr. Fuji's always been a little strange, so that would explain it. As it's clobbering time in the ring, Nick Ferreira to begin this one, as we get an insert promo for Mr. Fuji and his powers of pain. And we're going to listen to that, and we're also going to listen to the follow-up commentary from Vince McMahon and the Body.
We had an occasion to speak with Mr. Fuji, and here's what he had to say.
Look at it! Look at it! Look at it! Look at what happened! You know, when I left them, they left with my heart and soul into me. You guys are lost. You are lost. Well done, master. Without Master Fuji, you are lost.
You know, I have a very difficult time understanding Mr. Fuji. He speaks as though he has a mouthful of snuff or something.
Now, wait a minute, man. The man's from Japan. I think he does very well speaking the English language. Let me hear you say something. Wait, let me hear you say something in Japanese right now.
Egg foo-young? Oh. Well, you said, I don't know. But then again,
That's
Jesse...
Chinese, man. You got your food mixed up.
Well, I had it in Japan. In any event, You're from the Twin Cities. Let's hear you say something in English.
Hear me say something in English?
That's grammatically correct for a change.
I'll say something right now. These guys ain't got a chance against Demolition, I don't think.
All right, Fuji says the Demolition are lost without him. I think that's what he said. Even Vince McMahon thinks Fuji sounds like he's speaking with a mouthful of snuff, pal. Jesse thinks Vince is, well, he's being racist. Fuji speaks well for a Japanese guy who's trying to speak English. Matter of fact, let's hear you, McMahon, speak Japanese. Egg foo young, pal. That's Chinese, McMahon. Well, I had it in Japan. I had to write LOL there. Some fun banter back and forth, and Vince pointing out that, Jesse, you're from Minnesota, but let's hear you speak English. Of course, Vince always giving Jesse, the body, some guff about his, let's say, not so proper English language with all the ain'ts and the double negatives and this and that. However, it was a fun little banter there between the two as we go back to the action. It's Art Penna's turn to get in the ring, and from there, it's demolish and destroy. Nasty. Standing clothesline from Smash. Didn't even have to use any running force, just could have stood there. It took Penna off his feet before the demolition decapitation puts the champions over 2 minutes and 45 seconds. Now, I should note, for the fans in attendance here, this was taped back before the Survivor Series, so before the demolition turn. So before this matchup happened, there was actually a non-televised Brother Love show segment, which took place demolition as the guest along with Mr. Fuji. Now, during that segment, Brother Love said that the demolition can't win a match without the help of their manager. So in order to prove him wrong, Fuji was sent backstage, demolition wrestling the match without him. And of course, this was done to explain his absence at ringside when this would air after Survivor Series, but the fans were watching it before the Survivor Series. Of course, demolition not yet the baby faces, so not really cheered upon this bout, but Demo's always getting a little pop from the fans because, well, they're over for very good reason. So we are now in the post-Survivor Series world. The tapings are coming to an end. So the next set of tapings moving into 89 will make a little more sense to the fans in attendance and us at home. As we continue on, speaking of Brother Love, we do get an aired version of his segment here with Bobby the Brain Heenan and Andre the Giant. Bobby repeatedly, accidentally saying the word snake, to which Andre, well, he shows some fear here, ordering the Brain to stop using that word, boss. Brother Love shows his love for the heels for joining him on his show. Love thanking them for ridding the world of all the serpents, especially the biggest serpent of them all, one Jake the Snake Roberts. And with the mention of the word snake yet again, Andre, freaking out, begins to choke Brother Love before Bobby Heenan finally talks him down. Andre releasing Brother Love apologetically, but stomps off set. Bobby Heenan apologizing to Brother, giving him a big hug before both men take off to go calm down the Giant. This was honestly just a couple minute segment, very short, continuing the feud into the new year of 89, Andre and Jake the Snake. Clearly, there were directives given to Andre before the feud began. He was told the story. He was asked to sell, and a tremendous job he's been doing. But this new level of fearing a word, a little bit much for me, at least as much as they're doing it here on TV at this point in time. I do love Andre's sell job, though. Absolutely tremendous. He doesn't get enough credit for what he was doing outside the ring to continue to build up his feuds. As we continue on, we go back to the ring for the Mighty Hercules, taking on Steve Lombardi. Now, Vince and Jesse here on the commentary spend much of the match explaining the rules and hyping up the upcoming 30-man Royal Rumble match. In the ring, it's a very basic squash this week from the Mighty One. Power slam leading to a torture rack backbreaker. Submission win over Lombardi gets Hercules the win, 1 minute and 27 seconds. They mention here Hercules having an article in the new WWF magazine, but no mention of DiBiase in the article with him, nor even mention of their feud. So they use this short match really just to hype up the big Royal Rumble card. They don't even really put Hercules over during the replay, which is not great for the push of the Mighty One. And speaking of the Rumble, at this point, we do get a Royal Rumble ad. Quick bumper here, Mean Gene selling the upcoming big event, the big pay-per-view. And then it's straight back to the ring for Mr. Perfect, Curt Hennig, taking on Nito Gomez. As we get an insert promo here from Hennig, Mr. Perfect bragging about the undefeated streak closing out 1988 and promises another perfect year in 1989. Well, he ain't wrong, guys. As we continue on back to the action, Hennig rides Nito down, performs a rolling neck snap, even though Gomez didn't really position himself properly on his knees. Hennig still following through. As the match continues to progress, Nito about 5 steps behind everything Curt Hennig is doing, and he keeps blowing spots or even not getting in place for them. He doesn't even turn around for the leapfrog running dropkick spot that Hennig's been doing in every match. So Hennig, instead of waiting for him to turn around and blowing the spot completely, he just plows Nito across the back of the head, setting him up for the perfect plex and the quick win. Still undefeated heading into 1989, Mr. Perfect Curt Hennig. Match goes 2 minutes and 5 seconds as we roll off to the event center. Sean Mooney going to speak with the likes of the Outlaw Ron Bass and Ravishing Rick Rude with manager Bobby Heenan.
Hello, everyone. I'm Sean Mooney, back at the World Wrestling Federation Event Center. There is an outlaw here in the World Wrestling Federation, and he has earned that nickname. He is one big, bad Texan. And I think you know who I'm talking about. He's the outlaw Ron Bass. He is stirring up a lot of trouble here in the WWF, and right now he wants to stir up a little more.
You know, every time that I come down to the ring, and every time I get in there, and I take an opponent, and I throw him out of the ring, and I whip him, and I do just exactly what I want to do to this individual. It seems like there's always some little bleeding heart somewhere down the line. They go run to the promotion, say, "Hey, Mr. Promoter, what you gonna do about the outlaw? He's got Miss Betsy in there. He likes to choke his opponents. He's got the Maverick Brothers. He likes to do a little carving. What are we gonna do about him?" Well, I tell you what you do about it. You go ask Brutus the Barber Beefcake what you're going to do about it. All you're going to do is lay there. You're going to choke, you're going to spit, and you're going to bleed because the outlaw does what he wants.
Well, I think a good way to describe the outlaw Ron Bass is one mean, ornery Texan. He will not hesitate to give an opponent a Texas necktie with Miss Betsy. I think that gives you some idea of his nature. Right now, standing by is Ravishing Rick Rude with his manager, Bobby Heenan.
Macho Man Randy Savage, World Wrestling Federation Champion. Ultimate Warrior, Intercontinental Champion. All you so-called big tough guys, get ready. Because Ravishing Rick Rude has something he's going to say to every one of you.
Exactly. Bobby Heenan and Ravishing Rick Rude, right now we've got tunnel vision. And all we can see at the end of the tunnel is Randy Savage and the Ultimate Warrior. They've got the gold right now. But the future is just around the corner, and Ravishing Rick Rude is destined to become a champion, be it the WWF World Champion or be it the Intercontinental Champion. I'm taking the belts home with me and Bobby, and somebody's going down.
Ravishing Rick Rude, he believes he is destined to become a champion, either the Intercontinental Champion or the World Wrestling Federation Champion. And no lack of confidence between Ravishing Rick Rude or his manager, Bobby the Brain Heenan. And Mr. Rude will need that confidence if indeed he is to make it to the top.
All right, the Outlaw seems to be moving away from the feud with the Barber as he threatens to come after everyone here in the WWF and bring the wrath of Miss Betsy along with them. Meanwhile, the Ravishing One calling out all of the champions in the WWF. Of course, that's the Macho Man Randy Savage and the Ultimate Warrior. Rick Rude looking for gold in 1989, and he may just find that gold as we go back to the ring to see King Haku, another member of the Heenan family. Bobby Heenan in his corner, Haku's opponent, Frankie Valdez. We get an insert promo here from the former King. Well, it is Harley Race who refuses to call Haku the new king. Harley is the rightful king, he says, and is coming back to reclaim his throne and the crown. In the ring, Haku, total beatdown and the thrust kick to the side of Valdez's face, going to put him out. King Haku, your winner, 1 minute, 41 seconds. And just like that, we're back to the event center once again. Sean Mooney going to speak with the likes of Dino Bravo and Frenchie Martin. And we're also going to hear from this pair, the Young Stallions.
We are back at the World Wrestling Federation Event Center. Tag team competition. It has never been hotter here in the World Wrestling Federation. There's one tag team, though, that many have counted out on occasion, but they continue to battle back. They are the Young Stallions, Jimmy Powers and Paul Roma. And right now, this tough young tag team is standing by with comments.
You know, my partner and I call ourselves the Young Stallions. We've been together a little over 2 years now, and we've been wrestling the best. That's right, the best, because only the best wrestle here in the World Wrestling Federation. I'm talking about a team like the Bolsheviks, the tag team champions themselves, Demolition, and I tell you what, we've gone through them, and we'll go through anybody. Is that right, Jim?
That's right. Paul said we've been together for a couple years now. We've been scratching, we've been clawing to get to the level of that competition that we're at right now. We're not going to let anybody use us as stepping stones. We're going to use other people as stepping stones. Because the one thing we want to do is we want to be the #1 tag team in the World Wrestling Federation. Because if you're the #1 tag team in the World Wrestling Federation, you're the best. You're the best in the world.
That's right.
The young stallions, Jimmy Powers and Paul Roma, and one must admire the tenacity of those two. They refuse to quit. And you talk about a man who refuses to quit. What about Canadian strongman Dino Bravo, either in his drive to become champion or knocking the United States?
USA! USA! All of you American heroes, the best of the cream, come forward. The strongest man in the world is ready for you.
That's right, you know. Everyone within the ranks of the World Wrestling Federation are going to soon realize that the fleur-de-lis is going to be the most respected flag in the world. Especially you, Americans. Especially you, Hacksaw Jim Duggan. You have the nerve to come up here and face the world's strongest man. You'll have to face the consequences. And the consequences are going to be very hard on your nation. And you, Jim Duggan, nothing's going to stop the world's strongest man.
Well, still together, but not for long. Jimmy Powers, Paul Roma put back together yet again to work house show matches with the Brainbusters. But as the Rockers feud begins to grow with Arn and Tully, the Young Stallions will be no more moving into the new year. So a little late on the promo there, but interesting little couple-year run here for Powers and Roma. Meanwhile, Dino Bravo and Frenchie out here trashing the USA, trashing Jim Duggan because Quebec, I suppose, as we head back to the ring for the big boss man out here with the manager, Doctor of Style Slick, boss man's opponent, Pete Ketchum. As we learn, the big boss man is one of the 30 men involved in the upcoming Royal Rumble matchup. In the ring, it's the boss man landing a nasty-looking backbreaker across his knee. Ketchum then kind of jumps across the body of the boss man, almost in a high cross body position, to take the boss man slam, but that's okay because, well, the boss going to pivot, and we see a bit of an awkward boss man slam, but he still puts Ketchum away, just 1 minute and 36 seconds in post-match. The boss man going to toss Ketchum to the floor, cuff him to the turnbuckle, and beat him down with the nightstick. The boss man Hogan feud continues on, and he's meaner than ever is the former prison guard from Cobb County, Georgia. As we continue on with the program, we go off to Update and Mean Gene Okerlund. I guess you could call this the first Royal Rumble report.
From the pages of the World Wrestling Federation magazine, here's Update.
All right, folks, here we go again. 30 World Wrestling Federation superstars in a gigantic Royal Rumble when Sunday, January the 15th at the Summit in Houston, Texas. And yes, by the way, the Royal Rumble will be seen on a pay-per-view basis. This event marking the return of Big John Studd. How big? How about 380 pounds? No partners, every man for himself. 30 superstars battle it out in this gigantic Royal Rumble. By the way, you start with 2 men in the ring at one time. Another man is added every 2 minutes thereafter. Important. A lot has to do with the luck of the draw, which will be held just prior to the event back in the locker room area. Hopefully, our cameras will be on hand for that. Now, here's the lineup of some of the participants in the big Royal Rumble. Sunday, January 15th, 4 p.m. Eastern start. Again, the return of Big John Studd. Rick Martel miraculously returns to the ring in the Royal Rumble on January the 15th. Others, the Brainbusters, Tully Blanchard and Arn Anderson. Ronnie Garvin will be here. Andre the Giant, Ted DiBiase, the Honky Tonk Man, the World Wrestling Federation undisputed champion, Macho Man Randy Savage, Jake the Snake Roberts, Hulk Hogan, plus many, many others, and we'll cover that in weeks to come. But there is more. In addition to the Royal Rumble, a gigantic 6-man tag. 2 out of 3 falls. Get this. Hacksaw Jim Duggan of the Hart Foundation team up to meet Dino Bravo and the Fabulous Rougeaus. The newly crowned World Wrestling Federation Women's Champion, Rockin' Robin, to defend against Judy Martin. For the crown, Harley Race to meet King Haku. Plus, ladies and gentlemen, in the Super Pose Down, ravishing Rick Rude to meet the Ultimate Warrior. And by the way, in that Super Pose Down, you fans will be the judge. Again, 30 men, 30 superstars converging on the Summit in Houston, Texas on Sunday afternoon, January the 15th, 4 p.m. Eastern start for the gigantic Royal Rumble. You can be part of it on a pay-per-view basis.
All right, we learned the returns of 2 big names here in the company, including Big John Studd. Going to be added to the big 30-man Royal Rumble match, but he's returning after a 2-year absence, guys. Meanwhile, we also learned, and I popped for this one, Rick Martel, formerly of Strikeforce, Rick Martel returning to competition as well as part of the Royal Rumble. Can't wait for that one. So Stud and Martel making their returns in the next month. Both men in the Rumble match, along with the Brainbusters, Arn Anderson and Tully Blanchard, Andre the Giant, the $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase, former IC champion, the Honky Tonk Man, Jake the Snake Roberts, my God, what a list here. And we haven't even got to the Mega Powers, Hulk Hogan and WWF Champion, Macho Man Randy Savage. And with all of that, kind of interesting, a passive announcement that Rugged Ronnie Garvin will be one of the 30 men as well. So we get the first 11 men announced here, and they just kind of passively announce Ronnie Garvin as if he's been here for years. No build-up, no vignettes. He hasn't even wrestled on syndicated TV yet. He's only had one match on primetime, and that was last week. They kind of just mention it in passing. Rugged Ronnie Garvin's in the match. Okay. Former NWA World Champion, I might add. As also on the card, we learned there's a giant 6-man tag team matchup. 2 out of 3 falls. Hart Foundation and Jim Duggan battling their nemesises. Nemesi? I don't know. They're taking on the Fabulous Rougeaus and, of course, Dino Bravo. Women's title match. Rockin' Robin defending against Judy Martin. Battle for the crown. No more arguing, guys. When we come out of the Rumble, we will know who the true king of the WWF is when Haku takes on Harley Race. And then from there, a super pose-down matchup. No title on the line, but the IC champion Warrior will have a pose-down with ravishing Rick Rude. Who has the best body? We'll find out at the Royal Rumble. And speaking of UW, we go back to the ring now for the IC champion, the Ultimate Warrior, taking on Conquistador numero uno. I believe this is Jose Luis Rivera, as the masked man attacks the Warrior, but the IC champion fights right back, taking control, sending the masked one to the floor, standing elbow off the apron from the Warrior man, down onto the Conquistador. Then it's back in the ring for the Gorilla Press drop, and the big splash. Going to get the Warrior the win, 1 minute and 32 seconds. And then we're off to our 5th, count 'em 5 now, Bushwhacker vignette. This time, Luke and Butch in a lingerie store. You heard me right. So a lady goes in the back, tries on a nightie for them to look at. So we get a little whoa and yay comedy there, mate. Some serious mugging for the camera, per the usual. So hard with my son continuing to binge watch the NWA. He picked up where he left off in the summer, the Bash time frame of 1988, and now he's into 1989. But as he went through the year of 88, I was sitting in the room. I couldn't help but notice it's so hard to realize that a month before this vignette aired, the Sheep Herders, Luke and Butch, were heading to the finals of the U.S. Tag Team Title Tournament versus the Fantastics at Starrcade. And then this. More wacky fun from those lovable mates from Down Under. Wait, that's Australia. Is New Zealand Down Under too? Somebody let me know. As we go back to the ring for tag team action, the newly formed team, at least for this week, talking about the Honky Tonk Man and Greg the Hammer Valentine, managed by Jimmy Hart. Their opponents, Paul Brown and Rex Farmer. And right out of the gate, as they enter through the curtain, down the aisle, Vince McMahon shitting all over this new makeshift team of the Hammer and the Honk. Vince says they have nothing in common. They both have their own egos, pal. They'll never get along. Why, Valentine doesn't even like music. Boy, that'll change. But Vince ultimately trying to morph these guys into a tag team before our eyes, managed, mind you, by a guy who already has a team. Jimmy Hart has the Rougeau brothers. We could see Honky's decline before our eyes here, no doubt about it. As the action begins, it's the basics from both men. Valentine with his old lazy man suplex and a series of hammer elbow drops. And then Honky, well, he's gotten really lazy as of late, guys, because the little offense he had, he doesn't even use that anymore. And for this matchup, and being the heat getter that he was, crowd is absolutely dead here for this new tag team. Kind of sad, to be honest with you. Some basic heel double teaming from there leads to Valentine's shin guard assisted figure 4 on Paul Brown. Gets the submission win. 4 minutes and 7 seconds. Seems unnecessary to go that long, which for a new team, I get it. You got to get them over, thun. But for what they offered here, absolutely unnecessary in time. And I never thought I'd see the day in the Hogan era that Greg Valentine was more entertaining than the Honky Tonk Man. It just felt like Honky lost all interest at this point with his feud with the Ultimate Warrior coming to a close. And I get it, because he's not going to do a whole lot here over the next couple years. But man, what happened to the Honky Tonk Man here, guys, as we go off one more event center here on Superstars, going back to Sean Mooney. Gonna hear from the likes of Bad News Brown and Jake the Snake Roberts.
Welcome back to the event center. Bad News Brown. He is exactly that. He has stirred up a lot of trouble with the World Wrestling Federation champion, the Macho Man Randy Savage. You may have seen the comments that Bad News Brown made on national television, and the Macho Man has vowed revenge. Right now, standing by is Bad News Brown.
Is this the United States of America or is this Russia? Where am I at, huh? What happened to freedom of speech, yes? Because I tell the truth, I get fined. What happened to freedom of speech, yes? Because I tell it like it is, I get suspended, huh? Well, let me tell you one thing. It doesn't matter what you say. You can fine me, you can suspend me, you can kick me out the country. But the truth is the truth. And you know, and I know, that Randy Macho Man Savage does not want to get into the ring with me. Hulk Hogan does not want to get into the ring with me. Jim Hacksaw Dugan, all the other snot-nosed idiots you got out there, goody two-shoes, do not want to get into the ring with Bad News Brown.
Well, comments from Bad News Brown. In an attempt to get a title match, he assaulted President Jack Tunney. Well, that assault cost him a suspension and a $20,000 fine. I don't think he'll have to go to those lengths to get a shot at the other wrestlers he mentioned. Right now, standing by with comments of his own is Jake the Snake Roberts.
Everybody in the WWF tells me you're one mad dude. I guess I'd be a little bit mad, too, if I passed out on national television. I mean, I've never passed out from fear. Maybe from exhaustion, yeah. Maybe even from pain. Fade out for a few seconds. But from fear, my man, oh, that's made me stand on my own 2 feet, you know, and kind of freeze up a little bit. But to fall like a rock, brother, and to stay out for 10 minutes? No, I haven't done that, Andre. You have. And we all know what caused it. And don't you think it's about time for you to face your fears again? I mean, you say you want me, but you always want me when I'm not around. Or when Damien's not around. That don't happen.
Well, Bad News says he got fined for speaking the truth by President Jack Tunney. He asks, what happened to freedom of speech? What is this, the USA or communist Russia? Well, Bolsheviks might resent that, Bad News, but Brown's still coming for the Macho Man and the WWF title. Meanwhile, Jake the Snake Roberts says he understands why Andre's upset, passing out from fear on national television. Now, Jake, he may have passed out from exhaustion in the past. Oh, maybe even pain. But fear? It's time to face your fears again. Andre the Giant. As we wrap up Superstars next week, we learn we're going to see the likes of the Powers of Pain, Hacksaw Jim Duggan, Bad News Brown will be here, Rugged Ronnie Garvin going to make his syndicated debut, along with the African Dream Hakeem, the Outlaw Ron Bass, and Ravishing Rick Rude, all in the ring here next week. Plus, Big John Studd makes his TV return as the guest of the Brother Love Show. And that's going to wrap up Superstars Fun Show, just building to the Rumble and working on the current feuds and the new ones coming for 1989. Interesting approach here. Vince McMahon randomly announcing names for the Royal Rumble throughout all of these squash matches. So you really got to pay attention. We heard a lot of the names announced as part of the report, but also we learned that Demolition have entered the Rumble, the Powers of Pain. Of course, we talked about the Boss Man being mentioned. The Mega Powers were announced. Big John Studd, and even King Haku, according to Vince, during the Haku squash. Of course, the Battle for the Crown also coming up. And the way they sell it this week, it almost sounds like they had intentions of having some of these guys do double duty, but within a week's time, you guys will see that is not going to be the case. As we get ready for Wrestling Challenge, first, we're going to take a quick WrestleCopia timeout.
Hey everybody, Gene Jackson here, inviting you to check out the Retro Wrestling Review, where each week I'm joined by some great co-hosts who help me review classic episodes of USWA Championship Wrestling, and right now we are doing week-by-week reviews of 1993. But we don't just do reviews, sometimes we get a chance to interview some of the people who were there and lived it, plus do watch-alongs. It's a lot of fun, so check out new episodes that drop every Wednesday at WrestleCopia.com, and to find links to everything associated to the podcast, you can go to USWApodcast.com.
Hey guys, Ray Russell here, curator of the WrestleCopia Podcast Network, inviting you guys to listen to many of the programs here as part of the WrestleCopia brand, including, but not limited to, the Wrestling Memory Grenade, currently covering the 1988 and the WWF project. You can also listen to the Regional Wrestling Podcast, where we talk the territories. You can also listen to the Wrestling Stoop with the legend himself, Bob Roop. But that's not all. You can also check out the Pro Wrestling Academy with the professor of Puroresu, Mr. Dan Ginnity. Dan and I go back in time and cover the history of Japanese professional wrestling in the English language. And you can listen to all of those shows and more, all part of the WrestleCopia Podcast Network, located over at WrestleCopia.com. That's WrestleCopia.com, and anywhere your podcast streaming needs are met. And while you're at it, why not subscribe to our social media guys for all the latest goings on here at the WrestleCopia Podcast Network. Plus, I'm constantly adding old school video clips and pictures from throughout wrestling history. You can follow us over on X, formerly Twitter, at Wrestling Grenade. That's at RASSLIN Grenade. Also, follow and like me, Facebook.com/Wrestling Grenade. And why not subscribe to YouTube.com/Wrestling Grenade. And of course, now would be a fantastic time to become a WrestleCopia patron over at Patreon.com/WrestleCopia. That address again, Patreon.com/WrestleCopia, where you get so many gifts, including all of my insanely detailed show notes for every episode of the Grenade Show, Regional Wrestling, and the Monday Warfare podcast. You'll also get early access to a lot of the podcasts here on the WrestleCopia brand, where you can listen days and sometimes as much as a week earlier than the rest of the listeners. But that's still not all, guys. You also get at least a dozen digital downloads for your viewing and reading pleasure each and every month, plus random bonus video drops, and of course, the Patreon exclusive Watch Along series covering many past WWF and WCW events. And if that's not all, videocasts, also now a part of Patreon. No subscription, cancel anytime. Give it a try for a month, guys. I think you'll like the content that I offer, and every penny of it goes right back here into paying the bills. So if you're looking to support that next up-and-coming podcast brand, please consider making it WrestleCopia. Help me pay some of the bills to keep the WrestleCopia Podcast Network and all of the great shows here up and running for the months and the years to come.
This is Wrestling Nostalgia, the podcast that dives into wrestling history. Hey, wrestling fans, I'm Dave Dynasty, and if you enjoy podcasts that are knowledgeable and history-driven, then Wrestling Nostalgia is for you. With great guests and fun interviews, there are over 200 episodes in our archives. We chat with several first-time guests and often cover topics not discussed on other podcasts. Look up Wrestling Nostalgia on your favorite podcast platform and visit all of our links at linktree/WrestlePod. That is linktr.ee/RASSLEPOD. And remember, wherever you go, whatever you do, be good, be safe, and keep on growing.
All right, guys, welcome back to the Wrestling Memory Grenade as we roll off to the December 18th edition of the WWF's Wrestling Challenge. All right, it is Challenge for December 18th, 1988, taped back November 16th, also pre-Survivor Series. This one in Sacramento, California at the old Arco Arena. Bobby Heenan, Gorilla Monsoon on commentary here as we go off to the ringside. It's Brutus the Barber Beefcake taking on Jim Atkinson. We get an insert promo from the Outlaw. Ron Bass still bragging about Miss Betsy and his Maverick brothers coming for the Barber. From there, the Barber in action. We get the old high knee, nice backbreaker. Set up the sleeper hold. Going to get the quick win here for the Barber. 2 minutes, 19 seconds. And Beefer offering yet another free haircut. How kind. This time at the expense of Mr. Atkinson. That's going to wrap things up there for that segment as we roll off to Special Report with Lord Alfred Hayes as we see the complete replay in its entirety, guys, of once again Hulk Hogan on the Brother Love show from Saturday night's main event. Now, this, a little different here, is we're going to come out of the segment, a 10-minute segment, mind you. We get comments now from the Big Boss Man, who says, Hulkster, you're a tough man when the Boss Man's not around, manhandling his manager Slick and handcuffing poor Brother Love, knocking him over the top rope to the floor. Boss Man stating that nobody handcuffs someone in the WWF besides the former prison guard himself. The Boss Man promising he's going to rip Hogan apart with his bare hands, of course, referencing SNME and Hogan putting his hands on both Slick and brother love. I got to agree with the boss man here. A little bit of cowardly act there from the Hulkster. He's a big bad man when the boss man is not around. We're going to see what happens when those two square off one-on-one moving into the new year as we get the Royal Rumble ad once again, January 15th, 4 p.m. Eastern, early in the day, guys. So check that out, the Royal Rumble pay-per-view coming to you live in 1989. As we go back to the ring for tag team action, going to see Arn Anderson and Tully Blanchard, the Brainbusters, along with manager Bobby Heenan, taking on Leaping Lanny Poffo and Jumping Jim Brunzell. We are a leaping and a jumping here, guys, as Poffo with a poem, insinuating that the Brainbusters would be better off without their weasel, who has conned them into letting him steal their money. Now, as the action gets going, we get an insert promo from the Rockers, Shawn Michaels, Marty Jannetty, who admit they don't take life too seriously. They love to have some fun, but they're going to make an exception as their issues with the Brainbusters continue to escalate. Sweet. Can't wait for those matches, I'm telling you guys. In the ring, though, Jim Brunzell rocking those Killer Bee long tights down to his knee this week. But he does start with Arn Anderson, so Arn and Jumpin' Jim in the ring, which is kind of a cool showdown. Jim Brunzell landing a early crossbody for a 2 count. Anderson wisely backing Brunzell into the heel corner, though, tagging out to Tully Blanchard. Blanchard in, missing an elbow drop, however, and Jumpin' Jim tagging out to Leaping Lanny Poffo. Tully going to try for a cheap shot, but Lanny catches his foot and unloads, flying head scissors here from Leaping Lanny on Blanchard, and then drop kicking Arn Anderson off the apron, catching Arn sleeping there. Leaping Lanny, House of Fire, going to try for a Hurricane Rana on Blanchard, but Arn on the floor grabbing Tully's ankle, which allows Blanchard to hold balance and drive Lanny down with a power bomb. Nice move. Tully Blanchard power bomb. Don't see that every day. As the Brainbusters take over control and take it out to the floor. Tully Blanchard going to whip Lanny into an Arn Anderson clothesline on the outside. Finally back in, Lanny fighting back just long enough to make the hot tag out to Jumping Jim Brunzell, who comes in and lands his patented drop kick on Tully Blanchard, and boy does it connect. Brunzell may get the surprise win here, but in comes Arn to stop any chance of a cover here from Brunzell. Anderson going to catch Jim with a shot to the lower abdomen, leading to Tully Blanchard's recovery, and then Tully slingshot suplex to Jumping Jim Brunzell. The Brainbusters going to get the win, 3 minutes, 42 seconds. Well, we talked about it back in November. Brian Blair refusing to do a job for the Brainbusters on TV, and thus he was fired. So it seems here that they forced Jim Brunzell to do a job instead. We're going to have a Killer Bee do a job either way, pal. And when Lanny Poffo's on the apron and Jim Brunzell's taking the pin, well, obviously the signs are there. Jim Brunzell actually finished up the night after Survivor Series in Chicago, so this is airing after he's already gone. Brainbusters scoring a win over the former Killer Bee, Jim Brunzell, and as of the end of November, the Killer Bees are no more here in the WWF. As we go on back to the ring, Bad News Brown battling Nito Gomez. Brown going to attack, of course, and it's another total beatdown. Ghetto Blaster kind of lands. Well, it lands enough to give Brown the win, 1 minute and 45 seconds. Quick and to the point squash. Bad News Brown coming for the WWF champion, the Macho Man. Randy Savage, and the action just keeps rolling here this week on Challenge. Back to the ring again for the $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase, with bodyguard Virgil. DiBiase's opponent, Tim Horner. All right, we got to say White Lightning signing here on syndicated TV, as we also get an insert promo from the Mighty Hercules, who says, DiBiase, you didn't buy a slave. What you bought was your worst nightmare come to life, as Gorilla puts it anyway. And as we go back to the ring, we see the $1 Million Man trying to pay Horner off, trying to get Tim to leave the ring, accept his bribe. But Tim Horner turns it down. And as DiBiase hands Virgil the money to leave the ring, Horner sneaks up behind DiBiase with a nice layout back suplex. You don't see that every day. 1, 2, DiBiase kicking out. Ted wasn't prepared for this White Lightning character, and the crowd is eating it up. Tim Horner over with this crowd as he lands an arm drag and a drop kick, puts DiBiase down again for yet another near fall on the $1 Million Man. Now Ted finally got to cut Horner off with a back elbow in the corner, and then it's the patented left-armed clothesline followed by the falling fist drop, standing elbow off the middle rope. $1 Million Man with a gut-wrench suplex, the power slam, and the $1 Million Dream. Got to put Horner down. 2 minutes and 38 seconds. And to show what a nice guy DiBiase is, that money that Tim Horner turned down before the match gets stuffed into his mouth after. So he gets the money anyway. Win, lose, or draw. Tim Horner the winner here, if you ask me. Not a terrible showing for Horner's WWF debut. A couple of near falls on the $1 Million Man, a main eventer for the last year here in the company. But unfortunately, old White Lightning not going to get much higher here on the totem pole over the next year. However, he will get some wins, as we'll see, over time against some of the familiar heel prelim guys. As we go on, we go up to Mean Gene Okerlund up on the platform. Special interview time with Jake the Snake Roberts.
Gentlemen, please welcome my guest this week, Jake the Snake Roberts.
Listen to the ovation for Jake. He's got Damien with him, too. That's why the brain isn't around.
Jake Roberts, recently in front of a national television audience, I saw you humble another human being like I have never seen before. Here is a man who has met world champions. Here is a man that's been involved in handicap matches, going against 2 and 3 men simultaneously. But you and Damien certainly got to one Andre the Giant. I believe we witnessed a full-fledged phobia of fear of snakes.
You know, it just goes to show you that every man, every woman, every child has something they fear. Even a giant. A giant has something to think about also. You know, some people are scared of the dark. Some people are scared to work hard for their money. And there are some people that are scared to fight. I'm not scared to fight. Now, as far as Andre the Giant goes, Andre, Davey and I would really love to see you again real soon.
You know, Jake Roberts, he fainted dead away.
Oh, yeah, he's upset. I mean, the man is mad because he fainted on a national televised program, made him look real bad. Maybe he's a little bit embarrassed. Well, I'll tell you something. I've never fainted over anything. Maybe from exhaustion once or twice. But that's about it, you know what I mean? Maybe from working a little bit too hard. But I've been scared to where I've stood still and looked at something. But when the giant fell, my man, it was like a big tall tree hitting the ground. And brother, it is good to know that the man is scared, because I tell you something, you need an ace in the hole when you're going for Andre the Giant. And Damien and I are looking for you, brother.
All right, obviously we've not heard the end of Andre the Giant and Jake the Snake Roberts, or Damien for that matter.
All right, so we kick things off. We go back. We get a clip of Andre again fainting from fear of Damien on Saturday night's main event. Jake having a laugh at the expense of the Giant, embarrassing Andre on national TV. Jake says everyone has a fear of something, but encourages the Giant to face his fears. Face the snake. Honestly, another pretty quick promo this week, just the bullet points. So not one of those classic Jake interviews that we're accustomed to, but good stuff here as we head into the new year. Of course, the bell eventually going to ring on those Giant Jake matches, but it's been fun for what it was on TV. As we continue on, we also get more King Haku this weekend, this time his opponent Scott Casey here on Challenge, as Bobby Heenan grabs the mic, asking the fans to bow and kneel before their king. We even get another insert promo from Harley Race here, who says Haku, Bobby Heenan, everybody will be bowing to the real king, Harley Race, very soon. As a match gets going here at Scott Casey, King Haku, quick counters. Early sees both men missing an elbow drop on one another, but Haku quickly going to take over on the offense. Casey manages to come back with a series of rights, a big atomic drop, but he's going to run into a Haku thrust kick in the corner. Down goes Casey, and Haku goes over 1 minute and 48 seconds. And it's at this point in the Wrestling Challenge program, we go off to a Royal Rumble event center with Sean Mooney, who announces the rules of the big 30-man matchup and 28 of the 30 superstars involved. Imagine this, guys. He does indeed announce everybody involved, and they actually all participate in the Royal Rumble. Card subject to change, yes, but they had a pretty good idea of what they wanted, and it works out. And of the 28 announced, you might be asking, which 2 were missing? Well, it was Big John Studd and Rick Martel, the surprise announcements made on Superstars. So they've already got the entire field announced by the first weekend here of Rumble reports. As we go back in time, we get a replay from Saturday night's main event, a flag match featuring Hacksaw Jim Duggan over the Russian Boris Zukov. And then it's straight back to the event center again with Sean Mooney. We're going to hear from the likes of the former Intercontinental Champion, the Honky Tonk Man, and the current Tag Team Champions, Demolition.
He still claims he is the greatest of all time. And right now he's standing by with Jimmy Hart. Let's hear from the Honky Tonk Man.
You know, Honky, you're the greatest, man. Everybody knows how great you are because we see what you keep
Wait, Jimmy, wait. Just let me ask one question.
Okay, go ahead.
Who is the best guitar picker in the WWF?
The Honky Tonk Man, of course.
Who is the best singer in the WWF?
Oh, that's easy. You are, Honky.
Who is the greatest of all time?
Oh, Honky, you are.
So that makes me the best wrestler in the WWF.
Of course, number one.
And everybody wants to wrestle a Honky Tonk Man, even still when the Honky Tonk Man don't even want to wrestle anymore. I want to sing, I want to dance, and I want to play the guitar now. That's what I want to do, but everybody wants to wrestle me, Jimmy, so you get the contract, and the Honky Tonk Man will sign him, because I'll turn down no man.
You're the greatest
of all time.
Well, perhaps the Colonel has been telling the Honky Tonk Man what he wants to hear for too long. I guess he hasn't checked his belt line lately. A lot of repercussions have come out of the Survivor Series. One of the biggest shockwaves involved the tag team champions, Axe and Smash of Demolition.
Well, powers of pain, I guess you're pretty happy now, huh? Because all you are is a couple of idiots who now has a manager that may be able to do some. But just remember, Master Fuji taught us, and he taught us well.
You know, fellas, what happened with us? We're ready for fight. We're ready for a battle. We're gonna go right through the powers of pain. We're gonna go right through the warlord, right through the barbarian, and we're gonna grab that punchy little Japanese manager right by the throat. And Fuji, you thought you were devious. You thought you were mean. We've got a couple lessons in store for you, fella.
Well, comments from Axe and Smash of Demolition, and if you will recall, they have long given credit to Mr. Fuji for getting them where they are today. That is the World Wrestling Federation Tag Team Champions. Now, he has double-crossed them, and he is now the manager of the Powers of Pain. Can they trust him as Axe and Smash did? We'll find out. We've got more. Stay tuned.
All right, Honky Tonk Man apparently moving on into 1989, kind of putting the IC title and the Warrior Man behind him. What's on the agenda for the Honky Tonk Man? Well, we see he's going to be teaming some with Greg the Hammer Valentine. Beyond that, who's to say? Meanwhile, Demolition still the champs moving into the new year, but now managerless. Mr. Fuji has aligned himself with the Powers of Pain. That feud will pick up heading into 89 as we conclude Wrestling Challenge. Wrapping things up, we learn next week the tag champs Demolition will be in the ring, along with the Intercontinental Champion, the Ultimate Warrior. The Big Boss Man going to be here. Jake the Snake Roberts. My God, what a card. The Rockers also going to be in action, along with Dino Bravo and that awesome team of the Honky Tonk Man and Greg the Hammer Valentine. If that wasn't enough, special interview time next week with Mr. Perfect Curt Hennig himself. All of that next week is part of Wrestling Challenge, as we've got one more piece of business before we wrap it up here this week. We're off to Primetime Wrestling, December 19th, 1988.
Welcome to Primetime Wrestling. I'm Gorilla Monsoon, and
I'm your host, Tarzan Heenan.
Boy, am I glad to be back in the studio.
Oh, I'm
Can't
glad
take
to be...
you anywhere.
Can't take me any place.
Yeah, you.
Got me attacked by wild leopards and tigers and lions and
Did
giraffes.
you see one leopard? Were you close to anything that was ferocious?
A sloth bear came after me. I had a camera. I had thousands and thousands of dollar Hasselblad on me. The zebra ate it right off my
Hassan what?
A Hasselblad camera.
You didn't have $35 worth of stuff on, including the camera.
They were nice people, but I'm not going back with you. I wanted to ride some rides and enjoy myself and win a bear and stuff. I wanted to throw the hoop and hit the ball.
Why don't you leave now and go?
And have you take this show down with you?
Please. Feature this week here on Primetime Wrestling, the policeman of the World Wrestling Federation, Hacksaw Jim Duggan, taking on Boris Zukov and a whole lot of other exciting matches.
I think the policeman should really be the big boss man.
I'll be the judge of that.
Give me my... No, don't give it to me. I know how you'll give it to me.
I have something for you later on. It's getting watered down right now. I'm cooling it off, so to speak. What are you looking around for? I'll let you know when it's around here. You don't have to be looking
Cooling
around.
it down. Sensational Sherry's here.
Also going to take a look at a new tag team combination this week. The Honky Tonk Man and the Hammer joining forces. They're going to present a lot of problems to a lot of people here in the World Wrestling Federation, including the Brainbusters. Are you with me?
I'm not sure. I don't know what
you're not
I don't
sure.
like presents from you. I don't like anything you've ever given me is blown up in my face.
Well, guess what?
or hurt
This
me.
holiday, you're not getting anything. So you don't have to worry about anything.
To take all your gifts
We're going
back
to take
then.
our opening match right now as we take a look at the fabulous Rougeau brothers taking on Coco Beware
Next week,
and Scott
I have
Casey.
gifts for Hulk.
All right, here we go. Prime Time, guys, hosted by Gorilla Monsoon. Bobby the Brain Heenan, just a week away from the big Christmas program. And a lot going on here, including busy Bobby Heenan. He's going to have his hands full with every member of the Heenan family involved some way, shape, or form at the Royal Rumble.
Are you working out? Are you in training right now?
I'm not in the Royal Rumble.
Do you know how many things you're involved in that event?
Oh, yes, I do.
You got to go out there with Ravishing Rick as he goes down in defeat to the Ultimate Warrior in the pose down.
Be serious.
Then you're going to go out there and try to figure out who you're going to side with, whichever king you're going to go with. You don't know that, do you?
Well, I
Have
know
you made
this.
up your mind yet?
Well,
Which one's paying you the most money?
That's
the one you're going with.
That is not the way I do business.
Yeah. I know that's the way you
That
do
is a total
business.
insult to my structure as a decent person.
I hope so. Then you got to go out there. Look how many guys you got involved in the over the top.
Right, I stand the biggest chance of winning that night.
You always stand a big chance of winning, but you've never won anything, have you?
Well, I do pretty well.
Yeah, oh yeah. You got any gold? No. Got any titles? No. What do you got? Nothing.
I'll tell you what I got.
Zippo.
I got a 300-pound gorilla here with a big mouth that won't let me talk.
We'll be back
I'm
in
gonna
just
tell
a
you
moment
exactly
with the
what's
Honky
gonna
Tonk
happen.
Man and the Hammer as they join together.
So Gorilla asking the important questions here, talking about the pose down between Rick Rude and the Ultimate Warrior. Which king will Bobby Heenan side with? Will it be King Haku or Harley Race? Or maybe Bobby's just going to stand in a neutral corner and wait to find the winner. Plus, Gorilla Monsoon states that multiple members of the Heenan family will be involved in the Royal Rumble match, which should mean great chances for the Brain to win the whole thing. But Gorilla pointing out that, well, Bobby, you never win anything. So not expecting much from the Heenan family, as Monsoon mentions that all of the Heenan family members, 5 members he mentions, will be part of the Royal Rumble match. Now we know it's going to be the Brainbusters and Andre. Rick Rude and Haku will not participate in the 30-man part. However, maybe at this point, is Big John Studd returning to the Heenan family? We'll have to wait and see next week on Superstars when John Studd joins the Brother Love set. And as we wrap up this week's Prime Time, next week, it's going to be a special Christmas program. God, I missed that we were able to say that on TV back in the day. Gorilla Monsoon referring to the Christmas program as Bobby Heenan promises that he will have the set personally decorated and a present for everyone in the studio. Well, we'll see how that plays out. It is Bobby Heenan after all, guys. Also, a few exclusive matches here this week on Primetime Wrestling. Going back to Daytona Beach, the Ocean Center, taped December 6th. It was the fabulous Rougeaus over Coco Beware and Scott Casey. Rougeaus landing Le Bombe de Rougeau, putting Scott Casey down, but honestly, Coco Ware faring no better. The Rougeaus not really giving him much offense. Coco not really giving them much offense either. It wasn't very pretty, but the Rougeaus get the win in just shy of 7 minutes time. Also, from Hamilton, Ontario, the old Cops Coliseum, December 4th was when the event took place, featuring Tim Horner scoring his first pinfall victory here in the WWF over one Johnny K9 there in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. And then this, not as much a exclusive, I believe it was an MSG. I have to go back to check to make sure, but I had to point this out. You got to mention something like this. A rare Battle of the Heels. Listen to this. As the feature match this week, by the way, unless you count the old Saturday Night's Main Event replay matches, Battle of the Heels, Iron Mike Sharpe scoring a pinfall win over one Barry Horowitz. Wow. You don't get that every week, guys. And that will do it. That will wrap us up here this week on The Grenade. Want to share my thanks to everyone out there. Your support means the world to me. It absolutely helps the WrestleCopia podcast network continue to grow each and every week. Reminder to stop over to WrestleCopia.com. Check out all the great podcasts, all the great podcasters over there at WrestleCopia. And of course, Patreon.com/WrestleCopia. Insane amount of video casts, digital downloads, early access to the podcast, insanely detailed show notes. And of course, I mentioned that treasure chest of downloadable content. Go check it all out, guys. You will not be disappointed. over at patreon.com/WrestleCopia. But as we wrap things up here this week on the Grenade, we've only got one more week of TV here in December 1988. Well, actually, we kind of got two, but the last week of the year is actually a lot of year-in review stuff. So we'll probably recap that at the end of next episode as well. So for all intents and purposes, we've got one more week here in December of 88 WWF TV, guys. And it all plays out next time here on the Grenade as we wrap up 1988 and we say hello to 1989. Looking forward to that. But until then, this is Ray Russell saying from pillar to post and coast to coast, you pull the pin and I'll pick up the pieces right here on the Wrestling Memory Grenade. See you next week. Don't miss it. Be there.
You know, I have a very difficult time understanding Mr. Fuji. He speaks as though he has a mouthful of snuff or something.
Now, wait a minute, man. The man's from Japan. I think he does very well speaking the English language. Let me hear you say something. Wait, let me hear you say something in Japanese right now.
Egg fouillon?
Oh.
But then again,
That's
Jesse,
Chinese, man. You got your food mixed up.
Well, I had it in Japan.